what they really are. And you can't blame a lot of them because, you see, we're conditioned from day one. If you take a beautiful stallion, but you have with a whip, and in a closed, fenced environment, you train that animal every hour, on the hour, day after day, week after week, it's going to perform. Mm-hmm. Even the wisest of animals, like the elephant, which is, known as the wisest of all animals, even the lion, which is the most ferocious of all animals, will do your silly damn tricks for you if it's trained, long enough. And the human being is no different. So from the point go, from the, intervention of parents who don't know what's going on, all the way up to the schools, and then, further on, and through the media, human beings are just pulled, literally taken away and pulled away from their own inner voice, pulled away from their own inner center, and they're living on the periphery of being. And that's a very dangerous place to be, because if you're out of touch with your own sovereignty, if you're out of touch with your own inner voice, then you are open to all the parasitical energies, and all the vampiristic energies that may exist of people who are even further from the light than you are. Then it becomes a vicious circle, because this kind of phenomena does not happen unless there is a violation somewhere. Psychic vampirism, like any kind of violence, is a violation of truth. It happens, it occurs because people are living in absence of moral virtue or, of truth.
Yeah. And
until the world returns to a virtuous state, it's not doing that. So you're going to have these kinds of parasitical type of action. And as I said, we all have it to a degree, but, you may borrow somebody's energy or take somebody's energy, and it's such a small amount that it's not really missed, and then the chi, builds up again quite quickly. Or we might meet somebody that's a bit of a pain, but they're not necessarily a vampire, but we got to maybe do a couple of things for them. And it kind of, takes our energy down. You'll have a lot of that happen in life. But it doesn't mean that that person is a conscious violator of your energy. It doesn't mean that that person has murdered themselves. It doesn't mean that that person is, very, very far away from the truth and the light, and that they're living, they want you to fulfill their existence. So that it's very different each case. But the remedy is to use your reason, know that the subject is out there, and then start to be able to monitor your own energy levels emotionally, so that you're walking down the street, and you feel good, you feel all right, there's nothing troubling you, you seem to be in an equanimous state. You meet this individual, you talk for about 15 minutes, and then you leave, and then suddenly you find that your emotions are in a terrible state. Most people don't connect the dots. They don't connect the fact that, wait a minute, was it to do with that person and their energy? Because we are trained to blame ourselves. It's a form of self-sadism. We are taught only to look to our own, sort of inner mind and the kind of mood swings that we normally have. And we don't necessarily note the fluctuations of our energy based upon, and the reason why is because we trust the mask. We go by the mask, and everyone is good at playing the mask. So you meet somebody, and just because they're smiling, and just because they're happy to see you, and because they're, throwing back at us the platitudes, we might not notice what our emotional body is saying. But see, our emotional body is very intelligent, and our subconscious mind is very intelligent, and it knows when it's being, when energy is being stolen. So one of the things we need to do is to sort of think about where we are in our minds and what's our natural state. Who are we, naturally? And then once we really have an understanding of that frequency, and we really have a printout of who we are normally just left to our own devices, it becomes a little easier to notice when the needle is swinging, and we can judge what is the influence of other people. But this ultimately means a return to selfhood, because we have been dragged so far away from our own inner, sort of center, from this magnetic north of our own being, that we couldn't even tell if you paid us $1 million what our own energy is, because we don't have our own energy.
We deny it.
Yeah, and something, George, it's worse than that. People don't even have their own energy. They live so much with other people. They live for other people. The whole martyr problem, where you're always immersed in the life of other people. You're surrounded by other people. You care, far, far too much for the welfare of other people. You're totally involved in their lifestyles, and you allow them to be overly, involved in yours, because you have no center. You have no sense of self. So people are running around, not just on the weekends when it's kind of obvious to see, but all day long, every day. They're just absolutely open, wide open. It's like the boundaries are down, and everyone is just a flux. This is also what you have with the consensus trance on an intellectual level. And then Carl Jung, talked about the collective unconscious, that even people are just programmed, they have no sense of individuality or uniqueness or selfhood. And therefore, you are then perfect prey to the vampire who knows how to work you, because you have already got 3/4 of the social conditioning as a perfect setup.
You've already done all the work for them.
You've done the work for them. You have a beautiful mansion. It's been created and is precious and is pristine. But the doors are wide open for every derelict to come in and just, make himself happy.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering what the stink is in your life.
Now
so my work is basically to address the fact that, is that psychologists are unable to cure a lot of their patients. Patients are spending tons and tons of money, going for years and years and years. And I'm not talking about people who are just shooting the breeze. I'm talking about people who know they have serious problems, are terribly, terribly wounded, having lots and lots of problems, and wasting all their resources trying to resolve what's going on. And then you have the New Age movement, which is also filled with healing techniques. And, again, people are trying every modality, and they're coming away. A lot of them, something is not working. And the therapists are not aware of psychic vampirism, and the psychologists are only barely now starting to get involved with this. And if you're not aware of it, well, the simple fact is you're not going to heal the patient, and the person is not going to get healed. You've got to start understanding that there are these individuals in your life, and they can be causing you tremendous toxicity. If you don't know about it, then you're going to be in a constant state of self-blame, thinking, what's wrong with me? I can't get well. I must be crazy. No, I'm becoming a junkie of these healers. And then you get into all this self-recrimination, and all the time the answer is around you. It could be the people that you're hanging around with, or the people that are in your life, or even people who have passed on, or people that you maybe don't even know that well doing it to you. There's all sorts of permutations of this. It's not about getting off the hook by saying, oh, yeah, well, this goes on, I don't have to do any homework. So there's a fine line, but this is a legitimate phenomenon that has been studied, and I want to present it in a true, accurate way, not just like for some book that's on a spinner rack somewhere, another New Age self-help jive book that, is getting people off the hook and not telling them the full story.
Once, let's say one has had an attack, how do we heal after an attack?
Well, again, it's difficult to say because each individual case is different. Basically, the person has to get centered. What they need to really do is get away immediately. The main problem that I've seen in the lack of healing is because you're emotionally corded to the person already. So if you can decord, that means, emotionally just drop that person or those people and get away.
Cut the cord.
You're going to be good, and later on you'll come back quickly to your center. Because remember, not everyone is massively attacked. It's not, again, it's one of those situations in which you may have brushed into one, and it's pretty easy to recuperate. I deal with extreme circumstances in which people are completely compromised on all levels, materially, sexually, spiritually, emotionally, whatever. And it goes like this, George. When you have an intellectual camaraderie with people, but then for some reason, that kind of breaks down. Say that, you got a bunch of, say you have something in common, like, you believe in vegetarianism, and you're against all the hunters, and you're against the, and you put yourself out there as a kind of an anarchist who's against the system or whatever, and you cluster up and clan up with a bunch of people, and then slowly, you all change and you all differ. It's painful, but it's not that bad to change your intellectual camaraderie. It's like people in a band, who all playing the same kind of music, but then what do you know? The guy wants to do some kind of different music, and that feeling of brotherhood breaks. It's painful, but it's not that hard to pull away and detach, take those hooks out of you and go, well, okay, we changed, we moved on. If you have material connections with somebody, like you're in business with them and you're working on this partnership, or you have a business that's with other people, and again, some sort of breach comes in, it can be painful and it can be wrong, but again, you can recuperate quite quickly. But see, in life, when you make emotional connections with people, especially on a deep level, when you get courted,